What up, world? This is the Blunt Talk Sports Podcast, first episode of 2025, playoff edition, wildcard weekend. Very excited to bring this episode to you guys. As always, like, share, subscribe. It helps the channel. You can check the show out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and as well as on Substack. Trovo, and as well as on Podbean. Very happy to be here today, guys. Very happy. Again, Happy New Year to a lot of you. And I love you guys for the channel. The channel is definitely growing. Been seeing the comments and the love to a lot of the videos. Thank you as always. Hopping into this episode, like I said, this is specifically for Wildcard Weekend. A lot of things to unpack. I got a lot of episodes coming to you guys. You'll be seeing posted in between today and tomorrow. More playoff games today. Definitely a big one, 4:30, Philly versus Green Bay. You got Commanders versus Buccaneers, and then tomorrow, Vikings versus Rams. So, and let's not forget, you got Broncos and Bills playing today at 1 p.m. So, a lot of things to unpack, a lot of things to get into. So, hopping right into this episode, we're going to go into the start of Wildcard Weekend yesterday, which was a weird-ass game, but nonetheless exciting towards the end, which was Texans versus Chargers. Texans were able to pull it out 32-12. Score was not indicative of how close this game was at the beginning. The first half of this game was atrocious. Offensive football was just not on display at all for both teams. Chargers were kind of playing old school, rugged, 1960s style offense where it was like, we're going to throw it some, and hopefully the running game works. It wasn't enough. And to add insult to injury, the Texans were just as abysmal. I mean, they had one of the worst first halves I think a team could have ever to start a playoff game. So, wasn't great. A lot of bad interceptions from both quarterbacks. CJStroud threw some bad ones. Definitely Justin Herbert. I mean, Justin Herbert, let's just look in here. He had, and I want to make sure that I'm getting this correctly, Justin Herbert had, what was it, 4 interceptions? Yeah, 4 interceptions. So, again, not great. Not great. And you're talking about a guy who, considered one of the elite quarterbacks in the league, considered to be one of the best. That's not the performance you definitely want to have. I mean, you were 14 of 32, 242 yards, and 4 interceptions and 1 touchdown. Quite shitty. Quite shitty. Definitely not the performance you want to have for the Chargers. Offense, I just got to say it. They got to get this man's fucking help. I mean, don't get me wrong. He didn't play great. He didn't. Right in stretch of the imagination. He was pressing. He was sacked 4 times. His offensive line wasn't playing that great. Sometimes he was holding on to the ball a little too long. But, that being aside, the playmakers, the running game was completely a non-fucking factor. You had 18 carries and 50 yards combined between Dobbins, Edwards, Hassan Haskins, and Darius Davis, who got knocked back for -3 yards. You didn't even have Kamani Vidal. Kamani Vidal was out for this game, inactive. So it was just bad. No running game. Receiving wise, shout out to Lad McConkey, who has been hands down one of the best wide receivers in football this year. Rookie wide receivers in football this year. Great starting playoff game. 9 for 197, 1 touchdown. Obviously, he had the 86-yard long run that he broke off for a big touchdown, which was fantastic. It was great. It was great. So it was just, it's one of them things where, again, I got to give credit to McConkey because outside of him, there was, Will Dissly, that tip ball for the interception, horrible. DJ Shark, 1 catch for 10 yards. Tucker Fisk, 1 catch, 15 yards. This is not enough. This is nowhere near enough for a playoff team. The fact this team won 11 games was off defense and running. And Justin Herbert's ability to make plays. Got to give this team credit for that. But outside of that, the playoffs is where your flaws get exposed. And it's a lot of times where you're going into a game and you're thinking, all right, this team's got a potential for upset. Houston's been having a slide towards the end of the year. Haven't really played their best football. Hadn't really played great. But, after the first half, the team's reversed roles. The Chargers just, and Justin Herbert specifically, imploded. Completion percentage was 43.8%, which is atrocious. You never want a quarterback playing like that. Like I said, it was just bad. But they got to give them skill position players. Wide receiver Running back, tight end are definitely needs. These are things that should be addressed in free agency and the draft if you're the Los Angeles Chargers. But I don't want to take credit away from Houston. Houston Texans played an outstanding game. Houston, literally, I mean, you're talking to CjStroud, 22 of 33, 282 yards, a touchdown and interception. He was actually mobile, too. He had 6 rushes for 42 yards. Longest run was 27 yards. Outstanding. Completely outstanding. Did exactly what he was supposed to do and needed to do. It was great, and it was needed because it was kind of weird because for a while, watching the beginning of the game, you kind of noticed that Houston was getting away from the running game. Like they were trying to almost abstain from giving Joe Mixon the ball early. You could tell they were trying, and then, it got stopped a lot. So then it was just like, all right, we're going to throw it. But I'm glad that they didn't resort to just try to have CjStroud win the game. They started relying back on the running game, and Joe Mixon was huge. He really makes the Bengals look fucking stupid for letting him go. 25 carries, 106 yards. He had a touchdown. He looked great yesterday. Had some powerful runs. And receiving wise, Nico Collins, again, 7 catches, 122 yards and a touchdown. Getting this guy back healthy was tremendous and needed for this team. It sucks they don't have Tank Dell. I wish Tank Dell the best. I hope that he gets well, especially after suffering that horrific injury in Kansas City a few weeks ago. But yeah, I mean, offensively, the Texans scared you. You didn't really know what the hell they were doing or how or what their plan of attack was. However, they turned it around in the second half, definitely got it together. And again, when you're looking at key points for Houston, they showed the fight and poise that we thought that they had throughout the year, but because they have been so inconsistent, hadn't really shown it. So got to give Houston credit there for that. And their defense really is a true MVP. I mean, if you watch this game, I mean, defensively, outstanding performances. You had Mario Edwards, outstanding performance. They had 4 sacks as a defense. Mario Edwards was responsible for 1.5. Will Anderson was responsible for 1.5. And again, going into it, a couple tackles for loss here. They had about 5 tackles for loss. Derek Stingley Jr., outstanding. I mean, again, these guys played out of their mind yesterday. That's the performance that we're going to need defensively for this team to carry forward. And for this team to be a threat. Now, all indications are, depending on how this game plays out today between Buffalo and Denver, Houston could be going to Kansas City. Houston could be going to Baltimore. Really depends. But that's the performance. If you're a Texans fan, that's definitely the performance you wanted to see from this team. And the season goes on for the Houston Texans. I definitely, like I said, definitely excited if you're them. And for the Chargers, back to the drawing board. Definitely got to get skilled position players and got to get guys that can attack and help stretch the field because you're just too limited. You're in situations where you just see it offensively where they're not as good as they should be. And the fact that they won 11 games is a testament to coaching and Justin Herbert in that defense. Looking at it, you weren't even penalized that much. You had 2 penalties for 10 yards, but in the red zone, didn't get it done in the red zone. Your 1 attempt there in the red zone. Passing the ball, you only had 211 passing yards. So, again, 6 yards per pass, not great. And then, your third down efficiency was horrid. You were 3 of 11. So, again, you sucked on 4th down. You just didn't play good football. You were bad situationally. So, definitely got to get some skill position players if you're the Chargers to address these needs. But like I said, Texans are waiting for the winner today, waiting for the news of the winner between Denver and Buffalo today, and then that'll dictate their fate going forward. But that's going to do it for this episode, this edition, Wildcard weekend edition of Texans vs. Chargers. I'll have an update for the later games coming along as the week goes on, and definitely have the Eagles episode coming up. So again, as always, stay tuned, like, share, and subscribe. Take care and enjoy your Sunday.